Welcome to Untested Gaming, where we make character builds to play your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder 2e. Today we're riding the hype train off of the new The Batman trailer by building the titular character himself. Hey, I know we normally build league champions and characters from more obscure properties here, but if you like seeing more mainstream stuff like superheroes and movie characters, let me know by clicking that like button below and commenting below telling me what characters you want to see on the channel. And then I'll make them. Alright, back to the video. This was supposed to be ad-free, jeez. For our goals for this build, we need to bring punishment to all the underworld baddies that infest our city. We also need to be able to vanish into the shadows and strike from any angle at a moment's notice. Lastly, we can't be caught without our shark repellent or other random unit taskers from our utility belt that let us advance the plot. Shout out to Alton Brown. We're going to change up our usual format here so I can have a chance to explain what we aren't going to be doing for this build. For Batman, we won't be going rogue or monk. I waited until the APG was released to make this build for a reason, and while rogues get brutal beating and monks get almost all of the stances in the game, I didn't feel like being locked into either of those classes really captured the feel of Batman. We also aren't going to be taking the Vigilante dedication, don't get me wrong. I love the Vigilante in 1st edition, and I think the class is very fun and flavorful. I just don't think it works for Batman specifically, mostly because Batman doesn't do anything that Bruce Wayne would look out of place doing. Sure, if Bruce Wayne went jumping from rooftop to rooftop throwing batarangs, people would probably think something is up. But no one would bat an eye at a 6'4", 220-pound billionaire being able to hold his own in a fight, or having access to advanced equipment, or being able to help the police with an investigation should the social identity get caught up in something. I'll probably use the Vigilante archetype for future superhero builds, but for Bruce, it just doesn't tick all the boxes for me. Batman is a human. As much as I wanted to go half elf for once, being only human is one of the core character traits of Batman. Only human comes with 2 ability boosts. We'll take in dexterity and intelligence. We'll take the noble background because that's my code for Pathfinder equivalent for rich and famous. Doing so gives us a boost to intelligence and charisma. We also gain the courtly graces feat for free, meaning we can use our society skill to make an impression on a fellow noble instead. We'll go versatile human for an extra general feat. Candy acumen allows us to become an expert in any save or perception, and at 17th level we'll become a master in that save. We're going for fortitude saves, frankly because Batman probably shouldn't have any bad saves even though he's only human. For our ancestry feat, we'll take natural ambition for an extra level 1 class feat. Because our class is actually even more important than our humanity here, just saying. There's a version of Batman for pretty much every skill in the game. You got Acro Batman, Grapple Batman, Tech Batman, Kill him from a distance Batman, Kill him by any means Batman, Catholic Batman, D's Hands Batman, and even We Live in a Society Batman. But the other heroes and villains who really know Batman call him the world's greatest detective, because they all know he's like the 3rd smartest guy on Earth. It's Lex Luthor, a literal galaxy brain trapped in a human body, a guy whose power is literally being good at everything besides giving himself a better name than Mr. Terrific. And then there's Bruce, who's simultaneously smart enough to defeat and detain any super criminal, but not smart enough to keep them from getting back on the streets again. Investigator. I did all this to say that we're going Investigator. Matt Reeves said this Batman will showcase being a detective more than any movie so far, so I wanted to build a detective version of Batman. Level 1 Investigator start off strong with a boost to intelligence and a handful of class features. Pursue a lead is an exploration ability that lets us spend a minute to examine a clue or a person to designate as a target of an active investigation. We'll get a +1 to perception checks relating to investigating that target, and we can have 2 leads going at any time. Clue in lets us share our circumstance bonus to checks relating to our lead if an ally is also pursuing the same lead. Devise a stratagem lets you use your 200 IQ to fight as well as any martial class. Once per round, we select an enemy we can see and take an action to roll a d20. We must use that roll on the next strike we use against the enemy. If the enemy is the lead we're currently pursuing, we can do this as a free action instead. Doing so allows us to use our intelligence modifier instead for the attack. This also opens up our strategic strike. Anytime we would use our intelligence modifier on an attack, we can deal 1d6 of additional precision damage to the attack. This scales in a similar way to a rogue's sneak attack. Investigators also get to choose a methodology. Thomas Wayne was a doctor, so he probably had a few medical books lying around. Forensic medicine investigators gain 2 free feats. Stay with me. I know this is a long level 1 here. Forensic acumen allows us to examine a body in half the usual amount of time. If we do so, we can immediately make an additional recall knowledge check with a +2 circumstance bonus to determine whether it related anything about that body would come up if a layman had expected the body. We also get the most useful skill in the game, battle medicine. This lets us treat wounds and restore an amount of HP to ourselves or a nearby ally, even in combat. For our class feat, we'll take known weaknesses. This allows us to add a recall knowledge check as part of our devise a stratagem action. If we critically succeed, we get to add a +1 bonus to our attack roll. We can also immediately convey this information to our allies and give them a +1 circumstance bonus to their next attack roll against that subject as well. For our extra class feat from Natural Ambition, we'll take Takedown Expert. This allows us to use our devise a stratagem strikes using weapons from the club group in one hand, in addition to the usual weapons, and those strikes qualify for a strategic strike as well. But the real reason why we're taking this is because this allows us to use any of our strikes as a non-lethal strike without taking the -2 penalty. Because, Batman doesn't kill. We'll take training in acrobatics, athletics, deception, crafting, intimidation, stealth, survival, thievery, and diplomacy. For ability boosts, we'll increase dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. At level 2, we'll make up for our decidedly dismal strength stat by taking athletic strategist. This allows us to use our devise a stratagem rolls for a disarm, grapple, shove, or trip. If we do, we use our intelligence modifier instead of strength. Look, Batman is jacked, I get it. Roughing up the Riddler or the Joker is one thing, but we gotta put it in perspective for the setting. If someone like Wonder Woman or Bane has maxed out strength, then it wouldn't make sense for normal human Bruce to also have yoked strength. This lets us use our wits to take down the supervillains we're gonna be up against, and that's the most in-character thing we can do for Batman. We'll take the Catfall feat to count falls as less for the purposes of determining fall damage. Spread your cape for a smooth hero landing. We're also going to be increasing our intimidation skill to expert. Level 3 investigators gain keen recollection, meaning our recall knowledge checks gain proficiency bonus equal to our level for any skill we're untrained in. Your GM will love how many details they get to add to the world with you as their player. Skillful lessons are additional feats we gain at every other level that we can only gain in skills related to our soft stats or ones related to our methodology. We'll pick up medical researcher, allowing us to use our medicine skill to craft non-magical medicines, healing items, and the like instead of our crafting skill. Thomas had a lot of medical books lying around. Batman isn't just a brainy boy, so we'll pick up the fleet feat for an extra 5 feet of movement speed. We'll pick up expert proficiency and stealth as well. At level 4, we'll use our skill increase for expert deception. The quick squeeze feat lets us squeeze at 5 feet per round or 10 feet per round on a crit. Now we can get the drop on enemies using the air ducts. 200 IQ plays here. Up until now, we've basically been Bruce from the Gotham TV show, kind of broody, kind of smart, kind of capable, but we're not quite Vengeance yet. Let's start bringing the hurt with the martial artist dedication. This upgrades our unarmed attacks to 1d6, and we no longer take the -2 penalty for making non-lethal unarmed strikes. Level 5 investigators gain weapon expertise for expert proficiency in simple and martial weapons and unarmed strikes. We get a skill increase that we'll take for expert society. We use our skill lesson for an intimidating glare feat, allowing us to demoralize a creature that can see us. Gloomseer is an ancestry feat that gives us low light vision, and it's half the reason I wanted to go half elf for this build. But on Untested Gaming, we make flavorful builds, not optimized ones. Same ability boost as last time. At level 6, we'll take the follow-up strike martial artist feat, which allows us to make an additional unarmed strike without increasing our multi-attack penalty after we miss an unarmed strike. We use our skill increase for expert acrobatics. The terrifying resistance feat gives us a +1 bonus on saves cast by enemies we've successfully demoralized in the last 24 hours. Level 7 investigators gain vigilant senses for master perception proficiency. We also get weapon specialization for 2 damage on all of our attacks. For our skillful lesson, we'll get better acquainted with the mean streets of Gotham with the Streetwise feat. This lets us use our society skill instead of diplomacy to recall knowledge checks in a settlement we have frequented often. The Titan Wrestler feat lets us disarm, grapple, shove, or trip creatures up to 2 sizes larger than us. We'll take our skill increase for master stealth proficiency. At level 8, the Grievous Blow martial artist feat lets us make a single unarmed strike that deals 2 weapon dice of damage and ignoring physical resistances of an amount equal to our level. Once we're level 18, we increase this to 3 weapon damage dice instead. We'll increase our intimidation to master just in time to take the Terrified Retreat feat. So now whenever we demoralize a foe lower level than us, they will flee for 1 round. Level 9 investigators gain great fortitude for expert fortitude saves. We also gain investigator expertise, meaning our bonus to pursuing a lead increases to +2 and increases our class DC to expert as well. For our ancestry feat, we'll take Darkseer for dark vision because it would be really awkward being a hero who primarily operates at night and not being able to see in the dark underbelly where the villains hide. We'll pick up Master Deception and gain the Confabulator feat so we can reduce our circumstance bonus the targets of our lies gain for repeated attempts to lie to them. At level 10, we'll gain a skill increase from Master Acrobatics and skill training that we'll take in Performance. The ongoing strategy class feat lets us deal our strategic strike precision damage even on attacks that we didn't devise a stratagem for. This will effectively double our damage since we can now use our stratagem to attack with our intelligence modifier, then make another attack using our dexterity modifier instead, and dealing our strategic strike for both. Swift Sneak lets us sneak at our full movement speed. For ability boosts, you guessed it, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Level 11 investigators gain resolve for master will saves and better results on checks. Deductive improvisation lets us perform skill actions that would normally require us to be trained while we are untrained in that skill. Same goes for actions that require us to be experts so long as we are trained and the necessary skill and so forth. We might not be good at everything, but we can damn near try anything. Besides magic, Batman doesn't really do magic. Armored Stealth reduces the penalty we take to stealth checks while wearing armor. Now we can continue to sneak around Arkham while wearing the Galarian equivalent of Kevlar. Slippery Secrets lets us resist the effects of a spell attempting to read our mind using our deception skill. Just because Batman doesn't do magic doesn't mean he can't resist it with brute force. Brute mind? We'll grab Master Proficiency in Society while we're here too. At level 12, we use our skill increase for Expert Medicine. We'll grab the Foresee Danger class feat, which lets us use our Perception score instead of our AC as a reaction to an incoming attack that we can perceive. This build is pretty light on reaction options, so we get a lot of use out of this. Biographical Eye lets us do that Sherlock Holmes thing where we can tell if someone is cheating on their wife based on the day of the week we encounter them on and seeing the indentation of their recently removed wedding ring on their finger. You'll basically learn at least their profession unless you critically fail, but we have the chance to learn what they do, where they're from, some juicy controversies, and where they live currently. Basically just ask the GM to let you look over the screen and see what this character is about. It's great fun. Level 13 investigators gain incredible senses for legendary perception, light armor expertise for expert proficiency in light armor and unarmored defense, and weapon master for master proficiency in simple and martial weapons as well as unarmed attacks. We'll use our skill increase from master medicine proficiency. For our skillful lesson, we'll take continual recovery so we can treat wounds on a target every 10 minutes instead of every hour. Stubborn persistence lets us delay a fatigued condition on a DC 17 check. Somehow Batman can spend all night on patrol, then be up in time to do regular daytime Bruce Wayne stuff. At level 14, we'll take our skill increase for expert athletics and take the nimble crawl feat, allowing us to crawl at half our speed instead of 5 feet. Path of Iron lets us do that free flow focus thing from the Arkham games where we zip around striking every target in our path. We use 3 actions to stride and strike up to 3 times on any creatures in our path so long as we strike a separate creature each time. What's more, we don't consider our multi-attack penalty until after the strikes are made and our movement doesn't trigger any of our enemies' reactions. Level 15 investigators gain evasion for master reflex saves and better save results. Greater weapon specialization increases the additional damage of our strikes to 6. We'll become legendary in society at this level so we can take the legendary Codebreaker feat. Now if Riddler throws a cipher at you, you can look like an absolute bamf by cracking it in real time for the police. Assuming they haven't turned on you yet, that is. Foil Senses lets you automatically take into account special senses when attempting to hide, avoid notice, or sneak. Pretty apt for a guy with a lead-lined cowl to hide his face from Kryptonians. Same ability boost as last time. We've gone all this way, but still no utility belt. Let's change that now with the Predictive Purchase class feat. This gives us 2 free feats. Prescient Planner allows us to suddenly acquire an item we could have purchased so long as it isn't a weapon, armor, alchemical item, magic item, or treasure, and remove it from our bag as if we had purchased it all along. Normally this would take a minute of our time, but since we have Predictive Purchase, we can do this as a 2-action activity instead. Prescient Consumable lets us use our Prescient Planner for non-magical consumable items in addition. We use our skill increase for Legendary Sneak and take the Shadow Mark feat, which gives the target that we are tracking while in stealth a -4 penalty to their perception DC to notice us. Level 17 investigators gain greater resolve for legendary will saves. We get better saves and take half damage from any damaging effects from a failed will save. Batman may have the body of a human, but he's got the mind of a god. We'll take advanced general training for the quick jump feat, meaning we can now jump high or a long jump as a single action, and we no longer fail for making the initial stride. I think this might be one of my most taken feats on the channel. Every character I see wants to jump a lot. We use our skill increase for legendary intimidation. Now we can become fear itself with Scare to Death feat. We can attempt an intimidation check against the target's will save. If we succeed or fail, they become frightened. If we critically succeed, they take an additional fortitude save against our intimidation DC, and if they fail that save, they just die outright. Probably more of a Scarecrow or Red Hood thing, but Batman just got too much drip for the faint of heart sometimes. At level 18, we'll become legendary in acrobatics. The legendary sneak feat makes us always sneaking unless we consciously choose not to. We also do not need cover or concealment in order to hide. Now you can do that disappear when no one is looking thing even when there is no plausible way for you to hide yourself. We also upgrade our utility belt with implausible purchase, which allows us to use our prescient planner as many times a day as we want for adventuring gear, and up to 6 times per day for consumable items as long as their item levels are 6 levels lower than our character level. Level 19 investigators are master detectives. In addition to increasing our class DC to master, we also get super buddy-buddy with the GM. Now whenever we are pursuing a lead and we enter a new area, the GM will tell you what clues are in the area and will tell you once you found all the clues. Basically, the only person more powerful than the GM at the table is a high-level investigator. Now I realize the editors at DC must feel really bad when they have to put up Batman against godlike entities and make sure he still wins. We also get light armor mastery for master proficiency in light armor and unarmored defense. The connection skill feat lets you play Big Boy Billionaire CEO by allowing you to use your society skill to attempt to arrange a meeting with a local noble. If successful, not only is the meeting arranged, but you may also ask that noble for a favor in exchange for a future request as determined by your GM. They've had to give you a lot of privileges, so maybe get ready for some big requests from these Gotham elites. We'll use our skill increase for legendary deception. Incredible Initiative gives us a +2 circumstance bonus on initiative rolls. At level 20, we'll get a skill increase from Master Athletics and skill training in occultism. I wanted to keep the magic skills away from this build, but we keep running into Constantine, so we gotta pick up a little something along the way, right? We'll take the Kip Up feat so we can stand from prone without triggering reactions. The capstone ability for this build is the Everyone's a Suspect class feat. Now you can go full Tower of Babel on your allies. For the unfamiliar, it's a comic where Batman's contingency plans to take down every member of the Justice League get stolen and used by villains. It's a really great story of what you should not do to your party. The feat, though, lets you automatically pursue a lead on any person you meet and interact with, even your allies, for more than a minute. Those leads last forever and do not get reset during your daily preparations. For our final ability scores, we'll increase strength, dexterity, intelligence, and charisma. Now that we're level 20, can we talk about that sweet trailer? I actually can't wait for this movie. Talk to me about it in the comments. We can also go over the pros and cons for the build too, I guess. For pros, investigators know basically everything. Outside of combat, we basically just force the GM to tell us all of the relevant information we need. During combat, our stratagems allow us to have a very good idea of whether our attacks will land, so we can always make the best options. The only thing holding your utility belt back is how bulky items are and how much gold you have. Your team will never want for any supplies during an encounter, which makes sense. Whether we're talking the League or the Bat Family, Bruce is the one bankrolling the operation. For cons, our DPS is coming from melee, and while we have the dex to hit, we can't take it nearly as well as we can dish it out between our relatively low AC and very low HP. We also are a master sneak, but without the thievery skill to back it up, we're going to have a tough time infiltrating hideouts to look for clues. Lastly, since Billionaire isn't an official background in Pathfinder, you're going to find yourself running out of cash real quick using Prescient Planner on the regular. But Batman has never been a one-man operation. Hire a butler and adopt some orphans to support you in the field. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, we make a new build every week. Feel free to join the Patreon if you'd like to support us directly and vote in upcoming builds. For channel updates, you can follow me on Twitter at LordTomahawkD or on Facebook. Links are in the description. See ya.